Number 1.
Stern was last seen in Neptune, New Jersey on the afternoon of December 2, 2016. She has never been heard from again. Her vehicle, a silver four-door 1994 Oldsmobile 88 with the New Jersey license plate number WA337s, was found abandoned on the Route 35 bridge in Belmar, New Jersey at 2:45 a.m. on December 3. It was in working order and the keys were inside it. In February 2017, Liam McAtasney and Preston Taylor were charged in Stern's case. Photos of them are posted below this case summary. Both of them had known Stern since childhood and were friends with her in high school. In fact, Taylor had been Stern's junior prom date. They both had participated in the search for her. McAtasney told police that Stern was depressed and had planned to run away to Canada to get away from her father, but others who knew Stern said a relationship with her father was fine and she would not have run away without telling anyone. She did have plans to move to Canada in the future, but not until 2017, and she left behind her passport and a substantial amount of money in both US and Canadian currency. Authorities stated McAtasney strangled Stern during a robbery attempt. He told an acquaintance, Anthony Curry, about the murder, and Curry told the police. At law enforcement's behest, Curry recorded a conversation with McAtasney where he described Stern's death in graphic detail. He said he choked her until she began convulsing, then he shoved a t-shirt down her throat and set the timer on his cellular phone to see how long it would take her to die. Taylor confessed his crimes to police on February 1. According to him, McAtasney asked him to help him dispose of the body. Taylor reportedly hid it in the bushes in Stern's backyard at first. 8 hours after the killing, Taylor put the body in the front seat of Stern's car and drove it to the Route 35 bridge, where he met McAtasney. They threw the body over the side into the Shark River. They left her car on the bridge to make her disappearance look like a suicide. McAtasney was charged with murder, robbery, desecration of human remains, conspiracy to desecrate human remains, and hindering apprehension. Taylor was charged with desecration of human remains, conspiracy to desecrate human remains, hindering apprehension, and criminal contempt. Police learned the two men buried two safes, one of which contained $9,390 in cash and one of which contained some of Stern's clothing. Taylor led authorities to where they were hidden. McAtasney had planned the attack for at least 6 months after he found out Stern had been given money by her grandmother. He thought he would get $50,000 to $100,000 in the robbery, but most of the money was in a safe deposit box at Stern's bank, and McAtasney found less than $10,000 in old brittle bills at her home. In April, Taylor pleaded guilty to robbery, conspiracy to commit robbery, evidence tampering and hindering apprehension. He testified against McAtasney at the latter's trial in February 2019. McAtasney maintained his innocence at trial. His defense suggested Stern was not dead or that she had taken her own life, and that his recorded statement to Curry, a filmmaker, was just an idea for a horror film. He was convicted of all charges against him. In June 2019, McAtasney was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Taylor faces up to 20 years in prison for his role. Stern graduated from Neptune High School, where she played softball and was on the swim team. She studied art and TV production at Brookdale Community College for 2 semesters and was well known for her YouTube videos. She communicated regularly with well-known social media personalities and attended digital media conferences. Her body has never been found, in spite of extensive searches of the Shark River. An ocean engineer who testified at McAtasney's trial believes Stern's body was swept out to sea when the tide went out. Foul play is suspected in her case due to the circumstances involved.
Number 2.
Stout was last seen in the vicinity of the 200 block of South Street in Elizabeth, New Jersey, during the early morning hours of January 13, 2005. She disappeared with her 1-year-old daughter, Kiarana Gilliam. Kiarana was found safe in the New York City borough of the Bronx in June 2009, 4.5 years after her disappearance. Her father, Laquan Gilliam, gave her to a family and asked them to take care of her as a favor to him. He told them her name was Corona Brooks. A photo of Laquan is posted with this case summary. He promised to pick her up in a few days, but he never returned. He was arrested on drug charges and incarcerated. The family raised the child as their own, tried to find out who she belonged to, but they were unable to determine this because they didn't know her real name. DNA testing verified Kiarana's identity, and she was sent to live with her cousins. The family who had cared for her has not been charged. There is still no indication of her mother's whereabouts, however. The search for Stout continues. Her disappearance remains unsolved.
Number 3.
Trivisonno was last seen leaving Heartbreakers Go-Go Bar on Route 35 in Neptune Township, New Jersey, on January 20, 1997. At approximately 2 a.m. Trivisonno was reportedly intoxicated at the time she exited the bar. A sketch of her as she appeared on the night of her disappearance is posted with this case summary. Trivisonno was accompanied by an unidentified Caucasian male when she was last seen. The man is described as appearing well-groomed with shoulder-length, wavy light brown hair and blue eyes. He was in his 30s and stood approximately 5'8" to 5'9" tall and weighed 180 pounds, and he had a tan and good dentition. The man has never been seen again, and neither has Trivisonno. A sketch of him is posted with this case summary. Trivisonno's black 1994 Jeep Cherokee was discovered abandoned in a handicapped parking spot in the bar's parking lot the day following her disappearance. Her purse, wallet and jacket were found in a wooded area behind a fence in the back of Delilah's Den in Perth Amboy, New Jersey, about 40 miles away from where she was last seen. There was $500 in cash still inside the purse. No one had seen Trivisonno in the area. Trivisonno was separated from her husband at the time she went missing. She is the mother of 3 sons, whom her husband raised after her disappearance, and was a resident of Venter, New Jersey in 1997. She was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, but grew up in Pine Hill, New Jersey. She is a graduate of Overbrook Regional High School and at the time of her disappearance was attending Atlantic Cape Community College and preparing to enter nursing school. She had worked as a dancer at Heartbreakers for 3 years before quitting to become a nurse. Foul play is suspected in Trivisonno's disappearance. Her family believes she is deceased and authorities are investigating her case as a homicide.
Number 4.
Vicentini was last seen at approximately 2 a.m. on February 9, 2006, at the Adega Bar and Grill in the vicinity of the 100 block of Ferry Street in the Ironbound neighborhood of Newark, New Jersey. She had gone there to visit a friend who worked at the restaurant. Vicentini left the establishment with a man who is described as Caucasian, in his 30s, 5'8" and 200 pounds, with blue eyes, short salt and pepper hair and an unshaven beard. He was wearing a black t-shirt. Her companion has not been identified, but his first name may have been Antonio. He and Vicentini were drinking and talking with each other before they left together. It is unclear how they could communicate, as Vicentini speaks little English and the man did not speak Portuguese, her native language. The man was reportedly quiet and sullen. When Vicentini left with the man, she told her friend she was going to the man's car to look at a photo and to talk. She may have been intoxicated at the time. It is believed that she returned to her residence on Ferry Street near the restaurant after she was last seen, as her wallet, passport and jacket were found there. She has never been heard from again. The man she was last seen with is considered a person of interest in her disappearance. Several days after Vicentini went missing, someone called her boss's cellular phone and screamed for help. The caller has never been identified, and it's unclear whether the call was related to her case. Vicentini was born and raised in a small agricultural town in Brazil and came to the United States less than a month prior to her disappearance. She was planning to stay a few months as part of a cultural exchange program. She had saved her money to go to the US and was very happy about the opportunity. Vicentini was initially assigned to work at a White Castle restaurant and live in a small motel room with several other women in the program, but she became unhappy with the arrangement, moved out and changed jobs. She was an engineering student at the time she went missing, lived with a fellow exchange student, and had just started a job at the Mediterranean Manor. Vicentini's disappearance has been well covered in the media in Brazil and in Portuguese language newspapers in New Jersey, but the mainstream American press has given it little attention. Authorities believe she disappeared under suspicious circumstances. Her mother believes she was murdered since she never went more than a couple of days without getting in touch with her family.
Number 5.
Warner was last seen in Cape May County, New Jersey on August 28, 1973. He took his father's small outboard boat out from a marina on Ocean Drive and never returned. Later that day, the boat was found adrift 2 miles offshore. Warner's personal belongings and identification were inside, but there was no sign of him on board, and a search of the water turned up no sign of him. He has never been heard from again. The day before his disappearance, Warner was arrested for selling prescription drugs to a police officer. The offense was a minor one and he had no prior arrests, so it's unlikely he would have been severely punished. However, a drug conviction would probably have kept him from pursuing his chosen career in pharmacy. Warner had allegedly said that if he were arrested, he would run rather than face the charges. Investigators looked into the possibility that he committed suicide, deliberately walked away from his life or met with foul play, but there is little evidence to support any theory. A skull that washed ashore in 2006 was originally thought to be Warner's, but DNA testing ruled out that possibility. His missing person investigation was reopened at that time. Warner was an honor roll student at a pharmacy school at the time of his disappearance. The drug charge against him has been dropped. His case remains unsolved.
Number 6.
Warren was last seen in Toms River, New Jersey on August 7, 1983. He told his wife he was going for a walk through the woods to Ocean City College and would be back in about an hour. His wife of 47 years suggested he drive instead, but he said he wanted to walk. A security guard saw him on College Drive at 9:15 a.m. and he spoke to a jogger on Brokaw Boulevard at 9:50 a.m. He never returned from his walk and has never been heard from again. Warren's wife became alarmed when he missed a 10 a.m. pool party and notified police of his disappearance at 11 a.m. Tracker dogs traced Warren's scent to a pond off Hooper Avenue, then along the edge of a wooded area and roadway, but they lost the scent about a mile from Ocean City College. His wife found 2 sets of sneaker prints on the path he would have taken, one set lead towards the college and the other back towards their home. Warren had retired from his position as an associate professor of engineering at Ocean County College 2 months prior to his disappearance. Prior to his employment at the college, he had worked as an engineer for Nash Controls and designed some machines used in military weaponry. There was speculation that this work had led to his disappearance, but investigators found no evidence to support this theory. Authorities believe Warren disappeared under suspicious circumstances. He had been married for 47 years at the time of his disappearance, and his wife stated he would always tell someone if he thought he was going to be late. He was a very athletic man and a regular jogger until arthritis in his hip forced him to curtail his exercise regime. His case remains unsolved.
Number 7.
Weisbecker was last seen at the home he shared with his mother and sister in the 200 block of Asbury Avenue in Ocean City, New Jersey on March 11, 2009. That morning, he sent shopping with his mother. He was at home at 11 a.m. when the postal carrier delivered the mail. About an hour after that, his mother tried to call him, but the call went straight to voicemail. When she arrived home at 8:30 that evening, Weisbecker was gone and his car, a Lincoln LS, was in the driveway. There was mail piled on the counter, including an unemployment check for Weisbecker, and the kitchen stools were pushed out of place, but nothing else appeared to be out of the ordinary. His mother reported his disappearance to police at midnight. Weisbecker was unemployed at the time of his disappearance, but he was about to start a seasonal job at a restaurant. He'd asked his mother to buy him some shirts to wear to work, and they were hanging in his closet when he disappeared. He had been working in restaurants since his mid-teens and planned to attend culinary school in the fall of 2009. His dream was to own his own restaurant someday. His wallet and cellular phone disappeared with him, but he hasn't accessed his bank accounts or used his credit card or phone since he went missing. It's uncharacteristic of Weisbecker to leave without warning or to have his cellular phone turned off. He normally drove everywhere he went, even if his destination was only a few blocks away. His vehicle has since been repossessed. Before his disappearance, he had never missed a payment on it. Weisbecker grew up in Ocean City and graduated from Ocean City High School in 2006. His case remains unsolved.